Hello students, welcome back to my channel Journal English Exams Notes. Today I'm going to discuss the most beautiful story is all about the Mihir Bose, and it is a review of a movie which is created by Benigal Bose and who have the courage to write about this uh, leader and political leader personality, and how the Mihir was the personality and all that thing, and which kind of a political leader he is totally movie is based on his own biography and all that things, and we are going to discuss about it, and it is all about a review of a movie which is created by a Bengal Bose. So now we are going to discuss it. Mihir Bose was born on the 12th January 1947, British Indian journalist and author. He writes a weekly big sports interviews for the London Evening Standard and also writes and broadcasts and social and historical issues for the server outlets included the BBC and the Financial Times of the Sunday or the Sunday Times. He was the BBC sports editor until 4 August 2009. So here we have discussed about the Mihir Bose, who was born on the 12th January 1947, British Indian journalist and author. He writes a weekly big sports interview for the London Evening Standard and also write and broadcast on social and historical issue for the server outlets including the BBC and the Financial Times or the Sunday Times. He was the BBC sports editor until 4 August 2009. So, throughout the many years ago, just as a Richard Attenborough was making his film Gandhiji, Satyajit Ray spoken at National Film Theatre at London South Bank. He was asked whether he had ever considered making a film about Gandhiji. He neatly ducked the question. The impression created was that he didn't want to handle such an explosive subject. So here we have discussed about how the pupil of the like a political leaders, and how Attenborough was asking making his film Gandhiji. Satyajit Rai, spoken at the National Film Theatre at the London South Bank, he was asked, ठीक है, he was asked about whether he had ever considered making a film about Gandhiji. So here we have discussed nobody wants to create a film about the Gandhiji because he was a really great political leader, and nobody wants to create any kind of film on his biography because his life and the incident about it and the assumption about his life is very um, is very political and very critical according to the point of view of the Indian pupils, and it is a very sensitive issue and nobody wants to write about it. Nobody have enough courage to write about any kind of a political leader, and here um, so, like Richard Attenborough asking was making his film Gandhiji, and how the Satyajit Rao spoken at the National Film and the theatre at the London South Bank. He was asked whether he have considered making a film about Gandhiji, so he neatly ducked the questions. So nobody wants to make a film on a political leader. So he neatly ducked the question. The impression created was that he did not want to handle such an explosive subject. It has greatly intrigued that India's greatest director did not want to make the film. So India's greatest director did not want to film on the political leader of the Gandhiji, who is a famous leader of our India, and nobody wants to make any kind of a movie because it was an explosive subject for anyone. About the India's greatest son, it suggests that Indian filmmaker, however eminent, felt such subjects were far too controversial tackles. It suggests that Indian filmmakers, however eminent, felt such subjects were far too controversial tackles. This is where Shyam Bengali breaks new ground and deserves to be congratulated by becoming the first Indian film director to have the courage to make a film about a major Indian political figures. Whatever Bengal's Bose film achieves, it has made Indian mainstream cinema part of the world culture where it is not forbidden to show political life on a big screen, and an Indian like the rest of the world, which can deals with their history through film. So here we have discussed about the Shah Banagals who breaks the new ground, who deserve to be congratulated by becoming the first Indian film director to have the courage to make a film about a major Indian political figure. So he has um, uh, he have the enough courage to make a film about the political figures, and whatever Banagal's Bose film achieves, it has made India's mainstream cinema part of the world culture where it is not forbidden to show political life on big screen. An Indian like the rest of the world, which can deals with their history through film. Okay? The title of the film, The Forgotten Hero, when it was written in his biography in 1982 of Subhash Bose, which has recently been updated with the new material. He called him the lost hero. There is a meaning that while the Bose was important, he was a lost both of Indian nationalism and modern Indian life. He was keen to write a full biography of the man and get away from the endless debate about whether Bose had died in the air crash, debates that continue to this days with uh, with the continuation of these days with the Justice Mukherjee communication struggling with his. So here we have discussed about how the title of the film The Forgotten Hero, when it was written in his biography in 1982 of the Subhash Bose, and which has recently been updated with the new material, he called him the lost hero. So after that, uh, he updated as a lost hero. There is a meaning that while the Bose was important, he was lost. ठीक है? Both to India, Indian nationalism and modern Indian life. ठीक है? When there is a meaning about that, जब Mihir Bose was so important, he was lost both to the Indian nationalism and modern Indian life. He was keen to write a full biography of a man and get away from the endless debate. And about whether the Bose had died in the air crash, a debate that continues to these days, with the Justice Mukherjee communication struggling with this. So we have discussed about the how the Mihir Bose is very uh, really discussed about this kind of a political personality, and how Bose was lost when he really was important for the Indian culture and Indian nationalism and modern Indian life, when he really needs to for there is really need of a political leader like a Bose. He was lost there. So and this kind of a personality he is. Banigal neatly avoided the that controversy by not telling us how was that. So Banigal neatly avoided the death controversy by not telling us how was died. His film is dealing with the last 4 years of his life. It begins with the Bose resigning from the Congress presidency, and end with the plan taking off in August 1945. The contract fit was evident. Attenborough dealt with Gandhi life over a long historical time frame. Through this experience in South Africa to his death in 1948. So we have a discussion about the Banigal neatly avoided that controversy by the not telling us how he was Bose was dead and how the death is happening. Nobody wants to talk about it because it is a controversy and it is a controversial topic. So Bose has avoided this kind of sensitive issue. His film is dealing with the last 4 years of his life. It begins with the Bose resigning from the Congress presidency and ends with the plane taking off in August 1945. The contract with was evident. The Attenborough dealt with the Gandhi's life over a long historical time frame. Through his experience in the South Africa to his death in 1948. Banigal was presenting what he calls a fictional treatment of Bose. Banigal was presenting what he calls Banigal still um, presenting what he calls a fictional treatment of Bose. He has added his own gloss to the story. So not everything depicted in the film was historical true. This was hardly exceptional. Attenborough did that with the Gandhi, and any good film director would do to the same. There is a lengthy description of the submarine trip Bose took in 1943 from German to Japan. So here we have a great description about the how the Bengal Bose is written in his film and how the review of the film we can say that the Bengal was presenting what he calls a fictional treatment of Bose. He has added his own gloss to the story, so not everything depicted in the film was historically true. This was hardly exceptional. Attenborough did that with a Gandhi, and any good film director would do to the same. There is a lengthy description of the submarine trip Bose and took in 1943 from German to Japan. Okay? Now we have next paragraph. Many of the incidents described did not take place, such as Abid Hassan cooking khichdi, but they helped dramatize a difficult journey and provide some of the most riveting moment in the film. Hassan joking about the German about the khichdi, but they help dramatize a difficult journey and provide most of the riveting moments. Okay? Many of the incidents described did not take place, such as the Abid Hassan cooking khichdi. So many incidents have not described in the film. So we have discussed about in this paragraph, but they help dramatize our difficult journey and provide some of the most riveting moment in the film. Hassan joking about the German, about the khichdi, but they help dramatize a difficult journey and provide most of the riveting moment. In the film, Bose asked Bhagat Ram's his guide for a coin with a George VI face. He then tosses the coin on the ground and kicked it and spit on it, with the Bhagat Ram joining in. Shyam Benegal makes this scene more dramatic. ठीक है तो in the film Bose asks the Bhagat Singh Ram his guide for a coin with the George VI face, and he then tosses the coin on the ground and kick it and spit it on it, and with the Bhagat Ram joining in. So Shyam Benegals make this scene more dramatic. So this kind of a scenes in the film have shown by the Benegal Bose, and which is more dramatic, and the review of the movie is very interesting, and how he also added his own gloss to the whole story about the great leader. The film is ended with the air crash that killed the Bose. Banigal shows the plane taking off, then Emily, while peeling our food in a vineyard, hears the news and through the BBC broadcast. The implications is clear, but Banagles perhaps felt that showing the crash would have been a final Bose Fortuner too difficult to cross. It pity because it might have helped it, and this silly controversy over his death and bring some sense to fellow Banag- uh, Banagles who are agitating against the film. The film is ending with the air crash that killed off the Bose. The Bannacle shows the plane taking off, and then Emily, while peeling a food in a vineyard, hears the news through the BBC broadcast. The implication is clear, but Bannacle perhaps felt that showing the crash would have been a final Bose frontier too difficult to cross. It pity because it might have helped it, and this silly controversy over his death and bring some sense to fellow Banagal who are agitating against the film. So we have discussed about this kind of scenes and how the film is ended at the end, and which kind of news when else hears about the BBC in the about the Bose in BBC broadcast, and the implication is clear about the Benagals perhaps that showing the crash would have been a final Bose frontier too difficult to cross in and it is pity because it might have helped it and ended the silly controversy over his death. Okay, and bring some sense to fellow Benegals who are editing against the film. So conclusion of the story whole review is that in the film review, the Benegals was presenting what he calls a fictional treatment of Bose. He has added his own gloss to the story, so not everything depicted in the film was historically true. ठीक है तो historically there is so many things are happening in the post life, but it is not present in the film review, and this was highly exceptional. Attenborough did that with the Gandhi, and any good film director would do the same. And जो Attenborough था and with the Gandhi's film he has written about the Gandhi's political leader, and which is, he was a very great political leader, and he have the enough courage to write about him. And in the same manner, Manigal Bowles have a also enough courage to write about the great leader about the Bose. So and any good film director would do the same. So now we have some question answer about the story. And what is the controversy still going on regarding Bose's death? So we have already discussed about the his death, and about the air crash. In the air crash, he neatly avoided the death controversy by telling us how he was died. His film is dealing with the last 4 years of his life. It begins with the Bose resigning from the Congress and presidency, and with the plane taking off in August 1945. The contract with the was evident, and Attenborough dealt with the Gandhi life over a long historical time frame and through his experience in the South Africa to his death in 1948. So it is a main paragraph, and it is a main answer of this question, but you have to write whole structure of the answer, otherwise you will deduct your marks. And first of all, you have to write the introduction of the Mihir Bose dance. You have to write about the review introduction, and which kind of scenes and which kind of a controversial issue is avoided in the film. And lastly, you have to discuss about the about the how the Benegals both have enough courage to write about this kind of a great political leader, and how he has managed all the things and write about him. and biography and all that thing. The title of the film, The Forgotten Hero, when it is what was written in the his biography in 1982 of the Subhash Bose, and which was recently been updated with a new material. He was called the Lost Hero. Okay, so firstly it was written in the Forgotten Hero. Lastly, it was written in the updated with the Lost Hero. The lost hero meanings we have already discussed about when really Indian pupils um, needs both. He is missing in the nationalism as well as in the modern Indian life. So he was keen to write about a full biography of a man and get away from the endless debate about the whether Bose had died in the air crash. So a debate that continues to this day with the Justice Mukherjee communication struggling with his. So and Banigal was neatly avoided at that controversy by not telling us how he was dead, ठीक है, and how he has managed to write about only the film is dealing with the last 4 year of the Bose, and in the last paragraph, Banigal was presenting what he calls a fictional treatment of Bose. He has added his own gloss to the story, so not everything depicted in the film was historically true. ठीक है, or many of the incidents described did not take the place, such as the abbot hasn't cooking khichdi, and but they help it to dramatize the difficult journey and provide some of the most devastating moment in the film. So, in the film, Bose asks the Bhagat Ram Singh his guide for a coin with a George VI face, and he then tosses the coin on the ground and kicks it and spit on it, with the Bhagat Ram joining in. And the film is ended with the air crash that killed the boss, and Manigal shows the plant taking off. Then Emily, while peeling food in the vineyard and hearing the news about his death, and the conclusion of the film, and is very clear how the Manigal was presenting what he calls a fictional treatment of Bose. He has added his own gloss to the story, so not everything is depicted in the film was historical true. And now we have the next question. Benningham has added his own gloss to the story of the Bose. So, in the same manner, we have already discussed about it, and you have to write this in the same structure. You have to describe all the things and all the paragraph. I hope you like this video, which is very important according to your examination point of view. These questions are very important and repeated in the last year questions paper. So, write and learn about it. Thank you so much. I hope you like this video.